Cairo 7 pinpoint meteorologist Tiffany Sanders.
It is raining and 45 degrees in downtown Seattle. I'm Ursula Royteen.
Listen on your smart speakers, Amazon, Google Home, and Apple HomePod. Cairo Radio 97.3 FM. News and talk, powered by the Pacific Northwest.
The Big Lead is brought to you by 3010 Weight Loss for Life.
The Dori Monson Show on Cairo Radio. This is The Big Lead.
If people only knew what we go through to put together our end-of-year broadcasts, it's just, it's quite a not a nightmare. It's a labor of love, is what it is.
Labor intensive.
But we have to go through every sound a year, and we have awesome audio almost every day, so that's 600 sound bites a year, and then we have to whittle it down to the top 32.
Mm-hmm.
And so Nicole and I are on the phone, and my wife's sitting with me at my laptop, and we're grading them, and we're all, and so now we're just trying to get it all pulled together. But the payoff is in just a couple of minutes, we're going to unveil some first-round matchups.
I cannot wait.
In Monson Madness, where our listeners will pick their favorite soundbite of 2019. How exciting is that?
So exciting. Our listeners are always right.
They missed a couple of years, but we go with them. We go with them. So anyway, we'll have some first-round matchups. Voting will be live at 1 o'clock this afternoon. By the way, the Big Lead is on Facebook Live, and I have a lot of news to talk about, for crying out loud. Let's get right into the Big Lead.
The Big Lead, Dori Monson Show exclusive.
I have a listener who emailed me yesterday and sent just a fantastic idea. This is from listener Scott. Because, we're chronicling all this craziness here in Seattle and in the Puget Sound area, where, the game of life around here is very different from the reality in most places. Most places, you study hard in school, you maybe get a shot at getting into college. College grads make more than non-college grads on average. Sometimes you have to struggle, take out college loans, maybe you work your way through college. Not here. We got a bunch of people who are trying to make college free. You don't have to work that hard to get a minimum wage job. And then they say, well, we'll give you $15 an hour. Sawant's saying that if wintertime, landlords should not be able to evict tenants. It's just a different set of rules when you got socialists in charge. So, listener Scott sent a great idea, and I'm going to put this on you, the listeners here. But Scott simply asked, what would it be like if the city of Seattle wrote the rules to popular classic board games like Monopoly and Life, etc.? And Nicole Jennings, who's going to compile all of your suggestions for us online, she had a few ideas to prime the pump. In Monopoly, you always get out of jail immediately and for free. In the game of life, you automatically get a house and a car without having to pay for it because government's got you covered. No need for career or salary cards. Government will pay you the bare minimum you need to get by. We'd have to do away with the pink and blue figures for the kids because that's assuming their gender before they're old enough to decide. Or maybe they're just going to be gender fluid. So we can't have the blue and pink pegs for the kids. And those are just a few. I was thinking in the game of Monopoly, if you actually collect money and buy houses or apartments, you lose. That is the definition because you are a greedy capitalist pig. But anyway, we need to compile a whole list for the games Monopoly, Life, any others that you want to submit, and then Jennings will curate all of your outstanding suggestions, and we'll put it all together. I'll share it with you later in the show or tomorrow, and then we'll have it on mynorthwest.com as well. But if the city of Seattle wrote the rule book for Monopoly, Life, or any other board games, what would those rules look like? I used to like the game Trouble. Anytime, what Seattle would do, anytime you're behind your opponent in the game of Trouble, you get to just keep popping until you move in front. So the last person to pop is just the winner. And it's all handed to you. No strategy. Crying out loud. Okay. Start submitting. You can text us at 98973. That is 98973. And we will compile the definitive Seattle version of Monopoly and Life and any other board games you want to weigh in on. But I love this idea from listener Scott. So great idea, Scott. Thank you for submitting it. Now it's up to you to make the humor come alive. Okay, text us at 98973. That's 98973. Next up in the big lead.
The big lead. Top story.
As you know, the King County Courthouse, we have turned over the streets to drug vagrant criminals in downtown Seattle. So much so that 3rd Avenue outside of the King County Courthouse, which in theory should be one of the safest places around, they have, instead of cleaning up the streets, they have just told people, oh, you got to go up to 4th Avenue where there are slightly less drug vagrant criminals. And the reason for all of this is because a defense attorney a couple of weeks ago was violently attacked, and then a bus driver tried to come to his aid, and that bus driver was violently attacked. And this shows the absolute, and I've been telling you for a long time, and I've gotten this from very highly placed sources, that King County Sheriff Mitzi Johanknick is way over her head, and she is incompetent at her job. And I have some proof of that today because a listener sent me, this was from kingcounty.gov in October of 2018, so 14 months ago, and it is an employee announcement, important employee safety message. As you may know, there was an incident today where a man was stabbed with a knife after an altercation with another man outside the 4th Avenue entrance to the King County Administration Building. The victim, who's not a King County employee, was taken to Harborview with non-life-threatening injuries. Seattle Police has advised county officials that there's been an uptick in incidents in the downtown corridor. In response, they are stepping up their presence in and around the downtown corridor, expanding their presence beyond commute hours, and working closely with the city's NAV team. Okay, this is October of 2018. So what has happened in those 14 months? It's gotten worse. So why are we now doing something about it? Well, because an officer of the court, a defense attorney, got stabbed or got brutally attacked. And another county employee, a bus driver. There have been ordinary citizens who have been getting attacked on a regular basis down there. And they don't do a thing about it. But, oh, if it's a county employee who's getting attacked. And so now the incompetent King County Sheriff, Mitzi Johanknick, she now says that now it's time to secure the area.
We talk a good game about making them safe. It's time we put up the money.
What does that even mean? We talk a good game. Now it's time we put up the money. Ooh, where are we going to get the money? Well, let's see. Mitzi Johanknick's chief of staff, Liz Roca, dropout of 3 different TV stations in town, somebody with no law enforcement background, but a 20-year friendship with Mitzi Johanknick. She gets handed a $181,000 a year salary. Why? Because she's a friend of the sheriff. Maybe instead of giving $181,000 a year jobs to your buddies, Mitzi, maybe you'd have some of that money that you need for courthouse security. But now you're saying, oh, no, we've got to raise taxes. We have to come up. The public defender who was attacked is Kevin McCabe.
I'm glad that everyone is reacting as fast as they have been. I think that visibility is a big part of what needs to happen.
Who's acting fast here? I just read a memo from October of 2018 that talked about how dangerous it was. They have let people get attacked, assaulted, stabbed for 14 months down there. Nobody is acting fast. This victim says, who works down there, she says she can't bring her kids to work ever.
I've been a victim of assault on 3rd Avenue last summer. I've been a victim of somebody who's a repeat offender.
I would never bring my child to my workplace now because it is too dangerous.
And then King County Council member Rod Dembowski, he says, well, we'll get the King County Sheriff and SPD to work together.
Those three agencies together will bring some enhanced uniforms and presence in the courthouse area.
Are you as infuriated as I? Because a public defender, and, bless this guy, but because he's a officer of the court, now they're thinking about doing something. They sent out an urgent safety memo 14 months ago, and they've done nothing. Where else? When they say they'll get the money. Well, gosh, the King County executive, Dow Constantine, he has 3 sheriff's personnel solely assigned to drive him around at a cost of over $400,000 a year, salary and benefits. So he can go drinking at night without the fear of catching a DUI because he's got the taxpayers providing his ride home. Maybe, just maybe, in prioritization, we should take some of the $400,000 scam of driving around Dow Constantine and redeploy those 3 full-time cops to the courthouse, and then you don't got to raise taxes. Then it's all paid for. Do something about Mitzi's $181,000 chief of staff. Do something about Dow's $400,000 3-person security detail. Redeploy all of that money, just making the public safe. But no, Mitzi has to provide jobs for her friends, and Dow has to safely drink at night. And if that means people getting stabbed and assaulted, well, so be it. And if you don't want the stabbings and the assaults, doggone it, raise your taxes. Next up in the big league.
The Big Lead, Dori Monson Show exclusive.
Okay, it is day 1 of what we call Monson Madness. And this is where we have culled all our sound bites of the year to a top 32. And let's go through a couple of these with you here. One of, all of these are favorites. This is a tough first-round matchup. Brock Heward got a 1 seed. He is going up against an 8 seed in the Yelm side of the bracket. And this is a tough 8 seed. This is when on KTLA they explained why they couldn't get an interview with a guy.
We tried to reach out to the man who died in this pursuit. They were unavailable for comment. Micah, back to you.
At least she tried.
Yeah, she tried. Good for her. That showed some hustle. So that's an 8. That's a strong 8 seed there, going up against a 1 seed. And this is how excited Brock was when I finally made up my mind that I was going to go salmon fishing up in Sitka with him and Captain Tom. But after talking to you, after talking to Tom, after talking to my listeners who've been bombarding me.
Way up north to Alaska. Way up north to Alaska. North to Alaska. Go north for us your song.
I'm going to go from Seattle to Alaska for the first time in my life.
Wow! Seattle in the year of 92.
Okay. So, and I have to say, once I made my decision this weekend, I started watching videos. I started getting all fired up.
Of twisted steel and sex appeal. That's what you are, baby.
Yeah, you were just delighted with how excited Brock was with that.
Well, I think he sounds like Goofy in that. Woo!
When doesn't he sound good?
I know.
Okay, so that's a first-round matchup. And also in the Yelm region, we have Eric Swalwell. This is just a few weeks ago on MSNBC with Chris Matthews. Clearly, the congressman, or Chris Matthews, I don't know who dealt it, but I know that we all heard it.
I've counted at least 5 people testifying this week who were on the phone listening to the president talk about this swap of dirt for U.S. military aid.
Chris, so far, the evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election.
And that's up against the high school principal who was asked to give a graduation speech, but he word for word lifted one that actor Ashton Kutcher had done just a few years ago.
I believe that opportunity looks a lot like hard work. When I was a kid growing up...
When I was 13, I had my first job with my dad carrying shingles up to the roof.
Company carrying shingles up and down a ladder to a roof. Was that I never had a job
in my life that I was better than.
I was always lucky to just have a job. And every job I had was a stepping stone to my next job. And I never quit my job until I had my next job. And so opportunities for me look like hard work.
Hey, note to principal. We got this thing called the internet that archives audio now.
You can at least put in your own job, like whatever job he had when he was young. At least change the job.
Yeah. Okay, so those are 2 first-round matchups in Monson Madness. Voting live at 1 o'clock this afternoon. We'll dribble out a few more first-round matchups, and that is your big lead.
The Big Lead on Cairo Radio.
There is a controversy at the Seattle Public Library. A radical feminist group has booked a room there for a private event. This group doesn't like men, but that's not why they're controversial. I will talk to the radical feminists coming up next.
This hour of the Dori Monson Show is brought to you by Insulation Northwest.
We are counting down our awesome audio of the year.
The world is going to end in